Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1998 Represent. On this episode, we're taking a look at The Big Hit. I had never seen this movie up to this point. I had heard about, I'd seen clips of it, and I knew that it existed, but I had never watched it. And I ended up just buying it on Amazon or Amazon Prime. So it was like you could rent it for like a few dollars, and I think they actually had it on sale when I bought it, and it was like $4. So I ended up just buying it, and I'm gonna say that I had a really good time watching it. It's like an hour and a half long, so not very long, and it's basically like an action comedy. So I thought the movie was actually pretty funny, pretty enjoyable. There's some really interesting like sequences in the movie, and I just had a really good time with it. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the. I have some notes here about it, and then we'll kind of like discuss like the plot and things like that. So let me grab this notebook, and we'll go right to the page there. All right, so Big Hit or The Big Hit, first released April 24th, 1998. It came out to kind of mixed reviews. It didn't have amazing reviews at the time. I think it has like a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. Or according to my research, it had a 41%. Um, Not a lot of people really like loved it. I remember there being a really good blurb from Leonard Maltin about the movie, and let me just look that up really quick because he actually kind of said what I kind of feel about how he felt about the movie. So in 2010, Leonard Maltin published a retrospective about it, and basically just said claimed it as a guilty pleasure, and this is a quote from him. Said, quote, most critics despised The Big Hit and audiences didn't flock to see it. And this is perhaps confused as to whether it was a comedy or an action movie, and never dreaming it was a hybrid of the two. And then later quotes it says, quote, it expands its ideas to such ludicrous extreme that you can't take it seriously, and that's just what I like about it. And yeah, like that's kind of like the vibe I got for the movie. It was like it's definitely over the top in scenes. Like the acting and the casting is really good. Avery Brooks is in this movie, and he's got like one of my favorite scenes in the movie because he definitely goes hard in the role. Like he it just seems like Captain Cisco if Star Trek like allowed you to like use like f bombs and cuss at people. He's got like only like two, or he's got like a few scenes, but the major scene where he's asking Lou Diamond Phillips' character to figure out about like a kidnapping or something, and it's just an incredible scene. I don't know if the scene's on YouTube or not, but if there is, I'll leave a link in the description to where you can check that scene out. It's like Avery Brooks is just chewing the scenery in it, and it's just a hilarious scene, just based on it coming at it from just watching all of Star Trek Deep Space Nine a few years ago, like the entire series from like start to finish. It was just hilarious. I know Avery Brooks also was in American History X that came out the same year, I believe. But this scene or this particular like role, he basically plays the boss of all the main characters because they're all basically hitmen, and he plays kind of their boss. And something happens where he has to basically call Lou Diamond Phillips in for like a meeting, and it's just the way you would expect Avery Brooks to deliver like his lines and things like that. It's just an amazingly really good scene, but it's also just really funny because like he's just like cussing at this guy and kind of just going over the top a little bit. It's pretty good. So, like I said, Avery Brooks, Mark Wahlberg's pretty good in the movie as well. I definitely feel like the kind of the best acting in the movie is like Avery Brooks is in it very like a very small amount, but Lou Diamond Phillips' character is like it's definitely a very unlikable character, but he plays the character very well. He's kind of like one of the hitmen. To basically, we'll get into spoilers, but basically, he ends up kind of being the villain in the film because he kind of ends up kind of going into business for himself, so to speak. Goes against kind of like what they're doing, and then basically ends up doing like a kidnapping to get more money, and then that kidnapping the kidnapping doesn't necessarily go wrong, but the person that they kidnap is definitely the wrong person, or the person that they probably shouldn't be kidnapping. We'll get to that once we get to the actual full plot breakdown of the movie. Apparently, had a $13 million budget, and then domestically, I don't know if it got released internationally. Domestically, it grossed about $27 million. I don't know what the marketing budget on this was like, so I don't know if it goes off the like 2.5 times multiplier, where that's kind of like what a movie needs to be to consider to be like successful. Because basically, like the budget doesn't factor in like marketing and advertising, that kind of stuff. I remember talking to a classmate after he saw this. I had a journalism class, and we were working on something, and I think he saw this over spring break and was like really, really liked it. I remember him saying like Marky Mark has moves in this because yeah, there's a scene where Marky Mark or Mark Wahlberg is like rolling down. There's like a set of stairs, and there's two banisters, and he's basically like laying across the banisters and rolling down the banisters like that, like firing a gun as he's doing it, taking out like multiple people. Like he's like the movie is very stylish in the way like these kind of hitmen do their jobs. It's like, but yeah, I could definitely see what he was talking about in that particular scene. And now we're going to move into the plot of the film. So, film opens up with a guy basically dropping off like a couple bags to Mark Wahlberg, who ends up being basically like a cut up person that was like there was like a hit on them, and he's trying to dispose of this body, and it's like, or who we presume to be his girlfriend comes in, and he's trying to get rid of it, and he's basically then gets called in for the main job that they're doing, which is like they go into like a looks like a hotel or some kind of building to do a hit on a guy, and one guy is supposed to cut the power. It doesn't cut the power properly, or at least like when they're supposed to. And basically, Lou Diamond Phillips and like the other hitman that isn't Mark Wahlberg basically are just like sitting around. They're not really doing their job. They actually have a scene where they're actually drinking coffee as like Mark Wahlberg is in another room doing what they're supposed to be doing. And he's like, and Lou Diamond Phillips is like, "Oh, would you like some creamer with this coffee?" Like it's very very silly. But Mark Wahlberg basically like finishes the hit, or presumably like thinks he finishes the hit. This is kind of where he does the rolling down the stairs on the banister thing. He does a thing where he blows up part of the hotel or whatever it is, and like jumps out of a window. They basically are getting paid, and I think everybody's in it for a bonus. Lou Diamond Phillips, and I think Mark Wahlberg gets the bonus and then gives it to Lou Diamond Phillips' character, because apparently they claim that the guy that Mark Wahlberg shot wasn't actually dead when they got there, and Lou Diamond Phillips actually got the final shot, which gives him the bonus apparently. And then Lou Diamond Phillips' character has an idea to capture this Japanese businessman's daughter. I think she's like in high school or maybe like just starting college or something like that. So they kidnap her. Basically, they're gonna hold her ransom. And the funny thing is, the person's daughter who they kidnap has now gone bankrupt. So like that guy's got no money. They're actually repossessing all his stuff as like this scene is unfolding. Mark Wahlberg is also going out with character played by Christina Applegate, and that's like, and they're kind of like, so he's basically like going out with her, but also has another girlfriend that like I forget who the other actress was, but she's the one girlfriend that we see in the initial scene is actually just playing Mark Wahlberg. She's like basically like getting him to like pay like her a bunch of money for whatever. Um, so she's actually going out with Christina Applegate's character, who um, I think they're engaged, and Elliot Gould plays Christina Applegate's father, who like apparently can't drink. There's a scene where he like tries to get Mark Wahlberg to give him some like rum, and he like they say he can't have any alcohol because he becomes like a monster when he has like alcohol or whatever it is. But they do the kidnapping, and they kind of like force this daughter to read a ransom note. It's kind of funny because the ransom note is all there's all kind of grammatical errors in it. It's all spelled incorrectly. Lou Diamond Phillips is like, all right, read this, and she's like kind of laughing as she's reading it because of all of the different like spelling mistakes and things like that. And they eventually kidnap her. They bring her back. Forget exactly where they bring her back to. I think they actually bring her back to wherever Mark Wahlberg is at one point. But the funny thing is that the daughter who is kidnapped is the goddaughter of, I think Paris is the character's name, and that's the character played by Avery Brooks. So now it's basically become like somebody in this organization has broken the rules, and not only that, not only has it been a transgression, but now it's personal because this is my goddaughter who was captured or kidnapped. He doesn't initially know that Lou Diamond Phillips did it, but he basically is now has hired Lou Diamond Phillips to bring in whoever has kidnapped the daughter, and they kind of pin it on Mark Wahlberg's character when they do this. I don't know what that was, but they try to pin it on Mark Wahlberg. The funny thing is, like, another to go back a little bit, the father of the daughter that gets kidnapped is literally like about to try to commit seppuku, like stab himself with the sword, and that's when he gets the phone call, like the first ransom call. It's just funny because he's literally like about to stab himself. The phone rings, so he like stops, answers the phone, and then eventually hangs up. Is about to try to like do the seppuku again. They call him back, and then that's when the daughter eventually reads the proper ransom note, like the way like it's just hilarious because like you got this guy literally ready to kill himself, and phone rings. It's just kind of like some just like absurd kind of like humor, which I think in this movie it works really well. So there's a whole thing where basically they trace the call, they trace it to wherever, like basically like Avery Brooks is telling Lou Diamond Phillips to like figure out who did this. Like you're in charge of like this operation now of like bringing in whoever did this. And they eventually trace a phone call. Like somebody at Lou Diamond Phillips, like another hitman, calls this number. They eventually trace it and they go there. And this is one of the people that Lou Diamond Phillips is working with. And he convinces that guy to basically say that it was Mark Wahlberg's character that did this, and then Lou Diamond Phillips kills this guy. There's a whole really weird like chase around Mark Wahlberg's house where Mark Wahlberg, it's just like very silly humor where he's like moving the daughter around, trying to avoid Christina Applegate's character, and then eventually because like her and Elliot Gould and whoever plays her mom are like going out to do something. Mark Wahlberg and the daughter then eventually start like trying to cook a dinner that goes wrong. She tries to like knock him out. He locks her back in locks her back up, and then that kind of leads to like a final kind of like chase and showdown with all of the people that are basically chasing after Mark Wahlberg. There's a whole like little like subplot about him having a copy of King Kong Lives like rented out from a video store that is long overdue. So that's kind of like a running joke in the whole movie. It's like the video store clerk is constantly calling Mark Wahlberg, being like, he's like, hey, like you haven't brought back your King Kong Lives tape, you better bring it back. And then the final confrontation kind of takes place like in this video store because he eventually goes to try to bring the tape back. And then Lou Diamond Phillips' character like shows up there, and they have like a final showdown where like Mark Wahlberg ends up. It looks like he's blown up in the building, but there was a thing in there that was like kind of protected him and covered it, like made it so he didn't get blown up. And then he kind of gets with the kidnapped daughter. There's a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome kind of stuff going on with that, I think. But overall, I had a really good time with the movie. The action was good, especially in like the opening kind of the first hit that they do. The fight, there's like some car chases at the end, which I think were actually pretty well made. The final like kind of showdown between Mark Wahlberg and Lou Diamond Phillips is really really good, and then just the comedy, like it just worked for me. It was just like a very entertaining film. Like I said, ended up picking it up on Amazon for just like a few bucks. Like it was like $3 to rent it or $4 to buy it. It was on sale, so I ended up just buying it. And I could definitely see myself watching it again. I thought it was just very entertaining. I had known this movie had existed, but I had never, got around to seeing it. And I had a good time with it. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Again, I'll try to find that scene of Avery Brooks and like link it in the description because it's one of the best parts of the movie. It's just Avery Brooks just kind of going off on a guy, which is just hilarious. But that's gonna do it for this video. We have, I think, just one more video left in this series before we move over into next year. We're gonna be moving into the general 1990s. We'll be doing again movies, music, and video games, but for the whole decade. Anything that we don't cover in the 1998 series from 1998 will probably roll into just next year's series as well, which is just going to cover the entire decade. But that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one.